This is Statletics Hoops. It is March 12th. We're coming up on SEC, Big Ten, all of the bigger conference championship week. I'm Jake. That's Will, and Will, let's hop right into it. We'll dive in from last week, look into some bubble watch, and then finish off with some conference tournament picks. So, Will, we'll start with Kentucky, Tennessee. Kentucky ended up taking down Tennessee at home. What'd you think about this?
Yeah, a little Mark Titus shout out here. He's called 2024 the year of the cold-ass white boy. If that's the case, this was the game of the cold-ass white boy. Dalton Connect having a career game. I believe this was his only 40-point game of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Just not enough to overcome the performance of Reed Sheppard. Got a little bit too close for comfort. Kentucky's sake, I'd say there at the end of the game with Zakai Ziegler getting a steal and a bucket with the foul, but definitely a fun game to watch. Kentucky is catching stride at the right time. Just seems like they have offense from anybody that's on the court at any time. Who knows if they can stop anybody, but when they're scoring it like that and Reed Sheppard is playing that way, they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Kentucky. They played, I think, their best defense all year, but it didn't help that Tennessee didn't make any shots. But
Except
really
for Dalton.
Yeah, but he has been the exception all year for every defense. It doesn't matter what you throw at him. It seems like he always has a response. In my opinion, more deserving for Player of the Year than Zach Edey at this point. But I don't know. That can be a toss-up.
That's just fatigue. If this was Edey's first dominant year, I don't think people would be saying that. I just think people are tired of him, which I kind of am too, except for when I bet on him, then I love him because it's just every play they just clear out and throw it into him, and he just throws up a little bunny, and it's so fun to watch if you're rooting for him, but if you're not, it is the worst thing in the world.
It's the most annoying thing to watch if you're betting against them. But I was really impressed with Kentucky in this game. Overall, I think it showed a lot that Tennessee hung around and stuck in this game despite shooting way worse than Kentucky. They got up an astounding 74 shots from the floor, but only converted on like 35% of them. So if you're really looking at the stats, you shoot a lot, but you just ultimately not making enough to keep up with Kentucky. Kentucky has scoring from every angle, but this game was fun to watch. It's sad seeing the Vols lose on senior night, but they'll bounce back. It'll probably be a good loss for them going into the tournament.
Agreed.
Yeah. Houston ended up killing Kansas this past week. I bet on Kansas. I told Will before I wasn't confident enough this Saturday to tweet any of the plays out because there were such ratty lines. And Will, I think you ended up betting on Houston, right?
I took it easy this weekend. I didn't really put that much down. I did bet on Tennessee, so unfortunately that was a loser. But I didn't take either side in this game. But as you know, I am not a believer in the Jayhawks, so I was not surprised at all by this outcome. It definitely didn't help that Hunter Dickinson shoulder, Kevin McCullough, I think it's like still that lingering knee. Big 12 tournament now, which has drastically changed the odds for the Jayhawks and every other team in the Big 12 to win. But I think they're going to rest up for the big dance. Probably a good decision. Won't affect their seeding too much. They should still be a top 5 seed. But yeah, I am as big of a believer in Kansas being frauds as I have been all year after that 30-point blowout.
I mean, I don't put a whole lot of stock into it just because I feel like once the game was out of hand, and it was out of hand fast, Houston kept on the gas and Kansas just gave up. They knew that the game wasn't really going to impact them in any sort of way. They didn't have a chance at a share of the Big 12, and their season was essentially over. They already had their senior night. So I feel like it was one of those where you just toss it up to the spot and it not being a good spot for Kansas and me being an awful bettor falling right into that trap. So
they lost 3 out of their last 4. They lost to BYU at home. Yeah, they lost to BYU at home, lost at Baylor, then they beat Kansas State at home and got destroyed by Houston.
They didn't have McCullough during probably all of those games, except for Kevin McCullough.
No, no,
They
no,
didn't have
no, no. He came back. I'm pretty sure he played against Houston. I don't know exactly.
he played against Houston, but he didn't play against the rest of them. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you're wrong about that, but whatever. But I mean, either way, you still got to win some of those games. I mean, they just have some
BYU at
like
home hurts.
unexplainable losses. They had BYU in Allen Fieldhouse. That was at Kansas.
Yeah, no, that
Yeah,
definitely hurts.
yeah.
But if you look at it, so Kevin McCullough he played against Baylor, but they lost that game. They were not favored in that game, mind you. But he did not play against BYU at home. So
Okay,
that makes the
I
loss a little
believe
bit
that.
more understandable. But the fact that they lost to Baylor at Baylor, I don't think that's a bad loss.
No,
I mean,
I mean I think
they probably
Baylor's
wouldn't be
really
favored
good.
with Kevin McCullough either way.
But
So
yeah,
we'll
how do
see.
you feel
I'm not
about them?
totally
So
down on Kansas. I don't think that they're
you
worthy of their preseason hype at all, but they're not bad per se, and I don't think they're going to make
if
a run.
they're
Don't get that misconstrued.
if they're 5 and they get matched up with like I don't know 12 seed Indiana State, that would be glorious. Just like some like who I watched somebody yesterday who's like 30-3. There was James Madison. If James Madison and Kansas play in the first round, I would be very happy.
Well,
Okay.
and you have the rust aspect. If these guys are sitting out games, and then you have other teams that are basically
Yeah.
FAU reincarnated, then it's hard to come back from. But they're definitely
Yep.
talented. They just haven't reached their potential. So I don't know.
I was wrong about North Carolina Duke. I thought because you texted me and you said North Carolina, and I said don't overthink it. It's North Carolina Duke. They're gonna split. It was such a rat line. I think Duke was like a 5-point favorite. So I thought Duke was definitely going to cover. Didn't bet on it though. Not really sure why. I just didn't have the gambling itch this weekend. Glad I didn't. What'd you see in this game, Jake? We watched this one together.
We watched this game, but I think that it showed some of Duke's flaws, that it just seems like they don't jive together as well as North Carolina does after Caleb Love left. North Carolina just seems to move it so much better. And having Armando and Harrison Ingram, I mean, those guys can rebound and score. They're just a lot to handle. And then RJ Davis will likely be an All-American. There's hardly an answer for any of them.
They released All-American teams. He's a first-team All-American.
And he should be. But from Duke's standpoint, that's a game that you should win. You have to win. But you didn't. And did you see John Shire going apologizing to the Cameron Crazies after the game?
Yeah,
That's
while they were simultaneously throwing drinks at the UNC players. But you haven't mentioned the biggest story yet. The year of the cold-ass white boy. Cormac Ryan, 6 threes.
I mean, yes. But and while he had a great game, and he really did, it was just, to me, it showed the depth of UNC over Duke. There was more than their star players won this game for them, but their star players are the ones that open it up for them as well. So UNC just had too much firepower.
Yeah, I mean, UNC has to feel great about themselves going into the tournament. I know I do. They're probably going to be the top-ranked 2 seed, which I think would probably put them out west with Tennessee. That was going to be Arizona until Arizona lost to Southern Cal. Huge win for the Trojans. Does this kind of feel like it's signs for more to come for Arizona, or maybe signs of maybe a Pac-12 tournament run for USC?
I told you last week that if Tennessee played Arizona, they would clap them, and you didn't like that statement. But I think that this kind of solidifies that that Arizona is kind of, they can beat anyone. They're a lot like Kentucky. They can beat anyone. They have a lot of great players, a lot of talent, but they can also lose to anyone on any given night. But I think you were wrong there. I think that Tennessee, after losing to Kentucky at home and UNC picking up a win on the road at Duke, I think right now UNC would be a 1 seed and Tennessee would be a 2 seed.
Not
right
according to Lunardi.
That's the way that I see it.
Oh, luckily for Tennessee.
I'm not a bracket expert, but
yeah, I'm just going off what Lunardi's saying right now because the stuff that Lunardi puts out isn't his opinions. He like has this algorithm that's like similar to whatever the tournament committee uses to decide seeds, and so he's just trying to guess exactly what they're going to do, like based on a bunch of data. And right now he still has Tennessee as a 1, but obviously their performances in the conference tournaments could impact that. But I have a question for you. If Arizona and Kansas meet up in the tournament, everybody's healthy, who do you like?
That's tough.
No, it's not. See,
I mean,
okay,
it's not.
I was trying to expose you, and I have succeeded.
That's not an exposure. If you look at Vegas odds, Arizona, Kansas, I would probably say it would be less than a 3-point line on a neutral court. Fair. I would take Arizona, but like I'm saying, it's closer than what you think. Here, let's put it in the model real fast. You go over what you think about Arizona USC while I look this up.
I mean, I don't think it would be a massive spread, but I think the fact that I don't know. I just think Arizona has been much more consistent throughout the whole year. Let's go look at KenPom. Yeah, I mean Arizona has lost 4 games in 2024. I know they play in the Pac-12, but
the Pac-12 will struggle to get 3 teams into the tournament.
They did lose twice to Washington State.
They're frauds. So is Kansas. I'm not saying that Kansas is like not fraudulent. I'm saying I'm not all the way out on Kansas. You seem to think that Kansas is a tier 2 Big 12 team, and I just don't think that's factual.
I mean, depending on how many teams are in the tiers, I'd probably agree with that. But are you throwing it in the model?
Seems like the model is having technical issues right now, so no.
All right, that's all right. So transitioning. Well, actually, let's talk a little bit about USC first. Do you think USC could make a push to win the tournament? Playing some great basketball right now. Isaiah Collier is awesome. Yeah, give me your thoughts.
I mean, USC has arguably the hardest path to get there. They have to go through Arizona. If they beat Washington, they have to play Arizona after they just beat Arizona. Beating a team twice in a row is very difficult. And then turn around and beat either Oregon, UCLA, or Oregon State. And Oregon's not bad. I think they were preseason around the top 25. I mean, they have players. And then if they make it past that, they end up having to play the winner of the other side of the bracket, which is Washington State or Colorado. It just seems like for them to win without having a bye is very difficult, especially playing Arizona, which is by far the best team in the Pac-12. I don't think that they'll end up winning it. It would be a cool story if they did, because they have so many good players, but they've just proven to be so inconsistent throughout the season. They don't deserve to be
seeing LeBron courtside at a March Madness game would be really cool. But it seems like we'll probably have a chance for that next year. But yeah, I think USC's fun, but like you, I don't think they'll be able to get it done. They just haven't had a good enough year to get in otherwise. Some teams with resumes that are built up enough to potentially get in. TCU, Oklahoma, likely a win-and-in game on Wednesday. I think both teams will still have a good shot at getting in, win or lose, but a win pretty much solidifies a bid for one of these teams. Who do you like in that one?
Oklahoma's been trending in the wrong direction. Both of these teams, I feel like, haven't been playing very well recently. But I do like Oklahoma to just kind of get it together. I think they can shoot really well. And they, as well as they played at the beginning of the season, I feel like it would be a shame if they didn't end up in March Madness. But that's just me. So maybe
both teams have lost 3 out of the last 4, so I think a little run in the tournament starting out with a game that this might be a pick'em. Honestly, I don't even know who'll be favored. But honestly, I closed my eyes and I pictured Jameer Nelson Jr. in the Sweet 16. I don't know why. I just feel like guys like that always. And like maybe I'm thinking about Kansas State, Marquise Noel last year, kind of like smaller guys who score in unconventional ways. But I don't know. I think it's a coin flip. I'll probably bet on whoever the underdog is and just take the money line. But yeah, I kind of hope it's TCU just to see Jameer Nelson Jr. Moving on, Mississippi State and Texas A&M, two football SEC West teams. Obviously, no divisions in basketball. They have their first round of the tournament games this week as well. Mississippi State plays LSU. They have to play Tennessee if they win, and Texas A&M plays Ole Miss, and they will face Kentucky if they're able to win against the Rebels. Mississippi State and Texas A&M, I think, will likely be in the tournament either way. But again, similar to TCU and Oklahoma, a win in their first round of the conference tournament would be really big for their tournament chances.
Yeah, I don't know how Mississippi State wouldn't get in the tournament. I think they're really fun to watch. Honestly, they have a really good freshman guard. What's his name? I always forget his name. I think I forgot his name last week. But he's super fun to watch, especially whenever Kentucky played at Mississippi State. It seemed like a trap game for Kentucky. Both teams scored a whole lot, and I mean, obviously Reed Shepherd is very good, but Mississippi State would be a fun tournament team. Texas A&M, on the other hand, has been very, very hot lately. They blew out Ole Miss this past Saturday. So this is an interesting rematch game for them. I think Ole Miss will get it together in this spot. Like I said, it's hard to beat a team twice in a row. But I don't know. Texas A&M's been playing really good. If they don't win this game, I don't think they make the tournament. I think Mississippi State will handle LSU and likely lose to Tennessee, but it won't matter.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Texas A&M loses, then there's a good chance they don't make it. Mississippi State, I mean, if they lose to LSU, I don't know. But if Mississippi State beats LSU, they're definitely in. And I agree. I hope they get in. They're fun. As many SEC teams as possible. I think the SEC is one of the stronger conferences this year and not going to get as many bids just because they're pretty good top to bottom and they've kind of beat up on each other a little bit. Which you can't say as much for the ACC. Virginia, I believe, is like the 3 seed in the ACC, and I think they're plus money to make the tournament right now. They play the winner of Boston College and Clemson on Thursday. I think either of these teams beats Virginia. About an hour ago, I watched Boston College beat Miami, and obviously we've seen Clemson all year with PJ Hall and Joe Girard, and I really think Virginia will lose to whoever wins the Boston College Clemson game, and then their tournament chances are down the drain.
Good.
Yeah,
I hate watching them.
I think the world will celebrate with the Virginia loss.
Whatever seed they would be, or who, I don't even know if I would care who they play. They're a first round exit if they end up in the tournament, in my opinion.
It'll just be a boring game, and they'll lose 60-55.
Man, I hope
they
lose.
I don't even want to talk about them anymore, honestly. So the Big East will be fun because Villanova and St. John's, two fun teams who've had just roller coasters of years, can really, their chance of making the tournament come down to their conference tournament, which is really fun. St. John's has Seton Hall. If they win, they play the winner of UConn and the winner of Providence and Georgetown. Does that make sense? Providence and Georgetown winner plays UConn. And then the winner of St. John's and Seton Hall plays the winner of UConn in that game. Did I explain that? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think there's any chance St. John's upsets UConn?
Absolutely not. But I will say, Rick Pitino in March has a specific aura about him that cannot be matched. I would love to see St. John's in the tournament. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think if they win against Seton Hall, they have a fighting chance, and if they don't get crushed by UConn, maybe they'll sneak in the tournament. There's just no chance that they end up beating UConn.
I mean, I think that's a very humble take. That's very fair. Ever since Rick Pitino, did you see that press conference where he was like, "My guys aren't athletic. They don't try. They can't throw bounce passes, like all this stuff," and just like ripped on his players. He was like, "This has been the least fun I've ever had coaching." Just like went off on his own team, and it kind of like I feel like snapped him out of it a little bit, and they're playing a lot harder on defense and turning the ball over less. So, I mean, I think St. John's gets past Seton Hall. That's definitely not going to be just a walk in the park game. We're already talking about St. John's UConn. They have to beat a good Seton Hall team to get there. But I don't know, man. I think so. Villanova plays DePaul. Should take care of business there. Yeah, DePaul has obviously struggled pretty heavily this year. So do you think Villanova has a better chance of beating Marquette than St. John's does beating UConn? And I do believe Tyler Kolek will be back.
I didn't think he would be.
I'll double check that.
I don't know. If Tyler Kolek, I certainly think that Villanova has a better chance at beating Marquette, even if Tyler Kolek is playing, than St. John's beating UConn at this point. Just because Marquette has proven to be human and UConn really, besides a few select losses, has kind of separated themselves from the field at this point. So I think that that's true. Plus, Villanova seems to have a more talented roster, put it that way. They don't have Rick Pitino, but they have some dudes that St. John's otherwise does not have. If Tyler Kolek's not playing, then I like Villanova's chances a lot.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discourse online about Villanova still being on the bubble because they're 17-14, and then like there are a bunch of other really good mid-major teams with like great records, but since they don't play the same schedules and don't have the same caliber of talent, they're obviously overlooked in tournament selection. Do you have any thoughts on that of, bigger schools getting a much longer leash than some of these smaller schools with very impressive resumes?
I think there's two sides of the argument, obviously, or it wouldn't be an argument. But the thing is, with some of these mid-major schools, they don't get enough love as far as basketball is concerned because of the nature of the sport. It's almost like baseball, where anyone can beat anyone. Anyone can beat anyone in basketball, too. Football is a little bit different, but some of these mid-major schools, if you're winning 30 games in a season, that's not a fluke. And some of these teams are actually for real. So, yeah, I'd like to see more mid-majors in. I think it's a more fun story, but also it makes March in general. You don't want to see a struggling middle of the pack Big East team whenever I can see, I don't know, Chicago Loyola. Wow.
Chicago? Yeah, no, I'm with you. But, what would be fun is if Providence made a push and beat Georgetown and then somehow upset UConn. Or maybe, actually, yeah, that would, if Providence upset UConn, that would be really cool. But yeah, let's move on to some other tournament winners. Let's actually give out some picks. You want to give out some picks for who we think are going to win conference tournaments?
Ready for it.
All right, let's start with the Big 12. Looking at DraftKings, Houston is money. Iowa State is plus 380. Baylor is plus 550. BYU is, and just throwing this one in there to show the injury change. Kansas is plus, as it has been announced that McCullough and Dickinson won't play in the Big 12 tournament. Any of those jump out at you?
Iowa State. I think Iowa State's going to end up winning this thing. Obviously, they're the 2 seed, but they either have to beat Kansas State or Texas. And I think that they're coming off a loss right now, I believe. I'm not exactly certain on that. I think they're coming off a loss, so I think that helps their odds. Yeah, they lost to Kansas State. So, especially if they get a rematch against Kansas State, I think that bodes well for them. Playing Baylor is obviously not ideal, just because Baylor's been playing good basketball. But I think they match up very well against Baylor. They play a style, a brand of basketball that Baylor has had trouble with scoring in the past, which could be good for them. And then whenever they play Houston or whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket, Houston and Iowa State have matched up. They're similar teams. They don't shoot it very well, play very hard defense. Anyone can win. If they're sitting there plus money, I think that they have the best shot to win outside of Houston. But I just think that they're a top tier team. They haven't been playing like it, so they'll be highly motivated.
Yeah, I think that's fair. A month ago we were having conversations about, is Iowa State the best team in the Big 12? Because, they had a win over Houston before that rematch. Iowa State was looking very good. Waters kind of found its level, and they've, come back down to earth a little bit recently. But, they're still a great basketball team with that stifling defense and just hustling and athletic, just not my favorite type of basketball to watch, but very, very effective. Personally, I really like Baylor. I got them at plus 800 yesterday before the Kansas news was announced. I'm so feeling pretty good about that line movement. I just think they have the highest ceiling for scoring the basketball in the conference, and getting them at a big number is fun. So, just kind of hope they get hot. They have this guy, I can't think of his first name, but his last name is Bridges, and every time I watch them, he just makes plays, hits threes, gets rebounds, gets on the floor. He's awesome. So, yeah, my pick in the Big 12, because, obviously Houston probably has the best chance, but if you're going to put your money somewhere, I like Baylor.
I don't mind Baylor. They're coming off a loss against Texas Tech. And you're right. Jalen Bridges actually had 5 points.
Jalen Bridges. But they really only have 5? Okay.
But they have a lot of different guys that can score. They have Ray J. Dennis. Their leading scorer, Jacoby Walter, is a freshman. And he averages like 14, 15 a game. He's really good. He'll likely be in the NBA next year, one and done. They have Missy, who's a great rim protector. They have all the pieces. They just haven't been able to put it together yet. Obviously, they have a great coach in Drew Scott. But something about them this year I just don't trust. Maybe it's because they're leaning on a freshman to sort of lead them down. But I don't know. I just don't trust Baylor as much as Iowa State or Houston, even to that respect.
Yeah, I just like that they can shoot it. But, yeah, I think, I might have a little recency bias because I bet on Baylor against Texas, and then Jalen Bridges had a career high. I think he had like 30, maybe 28, 27, something like that. But either way, they're fun. I like betting on fun teams because I like rooting for fun teams.
Fair enough.
What about the SEC? This one should get some serious action. We got Tennessee at plus 130, Auburn at plus 260, Kentucky at plus 400. That one obviously immediately jumps out at me after that win against Tennessee. Alabama at plus 450, Florida at 2,000, and then the most shocking to me by far, South Carolina at plus 6,000, 60-1 for the Gamecocks.
I think that those odds show exactly how much Vegas weights having a first-round bye. And I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but the top 4 teams have a first-round bye, even though South Carolina had arguably one of the most impressive conference runs between all 4 of those with the gauntlet that they went through. But my pick here, obviously we're Tennessee fans, and I hope Tennessee wins. But to me, watching the Auburn game, whenever they came to Knoxville, and watching Broome take over that game, except for Dalton Connect, just did Dalton Connect things. Without Dalton Connect, Auburn blows Tennessee out in that game. And Broome sort of took it over with proving that even Jonas Adu, which was an All-SEC selection, he couldn't really guard him. And whenever you do double him, he just passes out of it and creates open looks. They have senior guards. I feel like Auburn is due, and they haven't gotten enough respect this year, especially with a great coach, Bruce Pearl. I'm taking them at plus money.
Very interesting. Let's play a game really quick. Let's play the game guess South Carolina's record on the season.
That's not a fair game because South Carolina didn't play anyone in the non-conference, but okay.
They played 31 games. Just guess their record.
I'm going to say they won 24 and lost 7.
25-6. They have one non-conference loss to Clemson, so 5 conference losses.
They didn't play anyone in the non-conference though.
You're right. They really didn't. But I mean, Coach of the Year overperformed quote unquote. I don't know. I'm not saying I think they're going to win it, but plus 6,000 makes no sense to me. I don't know. I'm probably going to put $10 on it for 600. You know, I mean, they had a great year. So yeah, I mean, for me, the two that I like the most out of these are Florida and South Carolina, and I know they obviously have the toughest roads, but I'm just looking at the payout 20-1 and 60-1. Florida's fun. They're playing their best basketball of the year, at least have been. A little on and off the past month or two. And I just don't understand why they're plus 6,000. I don't know. Somebody might be hurt. But yeah, definitely don't like Bama at plus 450. They almost lost to Arkansas, which would have been terrible. We thought they were going to win by 15, and it felt like they were going to lose the whole game until the very end. But yeah, I mean, I also like Kentucky at that plus 400 number. I think like right now they're playing as good as Tennessee and Auburn, if not better. Tennessee might have a little home court advantage just because it's in Nashville, so that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, honestly, my two favorites out of the ones we listed are Florida and South Carolina, given the value.
I mean, obviously they have great value. Bama might not win a game the rest of the year, as bad as they've been playing. I don't really understand that, but also as volatile as they've been, Bama could turn around and turn the gas on and just end up blowing somebody out randomly. You just never know what you're going to get with it. But
Bama's having the reverse effect of the year of the cold ass white boy the past couple weeks. Every time I watch them and look up at the screen, Grant Nelson is turning it over or flopping or something. It's crazy. Because I remember at the beginning of the year, I was like, dang, who's this guy? He's good. And he's just been horrible the past few weeks.
I think they said on TV where he's fouled out like 6 out of the last 7 games.
I believe it.
He just can't stay out there long enough to make an impact. But, I mean, selfishly, I do want Kentucky and Bama to end up playing just because I think that they might score combined 220 points. That would just be a fun game to watch. But I think that Auburn, it's their time to shine, unfortunately.
That's what happened in the best team. This is the best team Tennessee's had since 2019. And in 2019, it felt like Tennessee's year. And Auburn, remember, we sat in Brock's seats for the SEC championship against Auburn.
Close-up view of heartbreak.
We got beat by, 25? It wasn't even close. Because we had the battle with Kentucky the night before, and we were thinking, all right, if we win this one, we'll take care of business against Auburn. And they just did not miss. Then they went on to the Final Four that year. So hopefully it's not, hopefully history doesn't repeat itself, all I'm saying. All right, Big Ten. Purdue plus money, albeit only plus 100, but I was expecting a minus sign to be next to their name. I think Vegas really likes Illinois as they're only plus 300. Then we got Nebraska at plus 700, Michigan State at plus 1,000, and Wisconsin at plus. I'll start out this time. I mean, when I saw Purdue was plus 100, I was kind of like, should I just take the easy play and, go big unit on the obviously best team from the whole year, which I think is what I'm going to end up doing. I know that's boring, and I'm not going to do that for any of the other conferences, but I think Purdue is the play here if you can get them at even odds. The other one that I kind of like is Michigan State, just because they have dudes who can get hot and score in bunches, and they're old. Tom Izzo, they were projected to be, I think, like top 10, top 5 team before the year. Still have those same guys, AJ Hoggard, and oh my goodness, their better guard. What's his name? I'm forgetting. Walker.
Yeah, it's Walker.
Yeah, I can't think of his first name, but plus 1,000 is fun. I'll probably sprinkle on it. I actually already did. But it might be a good idea to go heavy on the Boilermakers in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. It's one of those that you can't overthink it because Purdue, their path there is so reasonable. One team that was interesting to me was Wisconsin. As far down as they dropped, I know that they got up to I know. They got up to almost top 5, top 10, and to see that
Yeah,
drop
I
off
still never
is
understood why.
insane. I didn't understand it either, but obviously the sports media in Vegas saw potential in them. They were favored in a game over Purdue at home. They ended up losing that game. I don't know. I mean, I just think they're an interesting play. Otherwise, I do think that Purdue is the best play here is to go Purdue for big money and just hope that Zach Edey doesn't get hurt because I think they'll run through the Big Ten.
Dude, Wisconsin lost 8 out of their last 11.
The
I knew it
drop-off
was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. Holy moly. They're going to need to turn it around quick. It all started when I bet on them against Nebraska. I'm looking at it right now. That was the first loss. My bad, Wisconsin. God, that game was a heartbreaker. Wisconsin was up 20 at halftime. Huh?
It's only right if you bet on either Rutgers or Maryland whenever they play.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just reiterating. Purdue is the play.
I think we're aligned. All right, Pac-12. I haven't watched the Pac-12 enough just because the games are so late to really have my finger on the pulse. Arizona's minus 155, Colorado's plus 500, Washington State plus 500, Oregon plus 1200, Utah plus 1600, USC plus 2. You can go first this time, Jake.
It's another. I know that I've had a love-hate relationship with Arizona. I love them whenever they're against lesser competition, and I love them in this situation. The Pac-12 sucks. Arizona is obviously the best team. And I think if they end up matching up against Washington State's had their number this year. I think they'll pull up pretty motivated to prove what people are saying about them wrong, that they can't beat quality competition and that they own the Pac-12. So even though it's minus money, it's not a sexy play, but I think it's the right play. Give me your spiel about Washington State or Colorado and try to talk yourself into it.
I mean, I'm not going to bet. I'm not going to take a future that's minus money. What's the point of doing that? I mean,
I'm not going to either, but I just think it's they're minus money for a reason because the Pac-12 sucks.
Yeah. But I mean, they just lost to you. Yeah, I mean, USC, that would just be, I'm going to bet on Isaiah Collier, which would be fun. Colorado's interesting just because they're kind of on the bubble, so they're still motivated. Washington State's in. I mean, Washington State's 2-0 against Arizona this year. And at plus 500, I mean, I don't know. Sure. I'm probably not going to bet on this one. But if I was, it would probably be Washington State.
I'm probably not going to seriously bet on this one, but you're right about if I'm looking for $10 that I could just burn, USC at plus 2, why not? You know
what might be a good idea, because I bet I'm going to look back and watch this and just because Houston, Purdue, and Arizona are all going to win their conference tournaments. I'm going to look like an idiot saying all these other people. What if you just parlayed Houston, Purdue, and Arizona? I don't think you can do it with the SEC because I don't think there's a clear-cut, no doubt favorite. But, I mean, Houston, Purdue, and Arizona should, take care of business. Would you agree?
No. I would not place money on Houston to win the tournament. Even though they have a good chance of winning, but whenever you go and look at it, they have to beat either Oklahoma or TCU, both bubble teams, both trying to make a push to get in. And a win for both of those teams in that first game will be huge. And then Texas Tech, BYU, UCF. BYU, Texas Tech has had great seasons. They've been ranked the majority of the season. And then once they beat one of those teams, they'll either have to play Iowa State or Baylor, likely, unless there's some sort of upset. It's just a long road to place a high unit favorite for odds that I don't think it would return that much value. If you parlayed 3 of them, what would the odds be?
Let me see if I can
Because
find out really
Houston
quick.
is minus money, Arizona is minus money, and Purdue is plus 100. Purdue at plus 100 and Houston being minus money just doesn't make sense to me. I would think that Houston or that Purdue should be like minus 1.
I don't know if you also want to talk about ACC, but I just saw it. North Carolina's plus 150. Duke is plus Y. I don't get it. I mean, I think it's one of those two. And I mean, at that number, you have to take North Carolina. Okay, so Houston minus Arizona minus 155. Oh, UConn minus 150. Throw them in there too.
I think a fair parlay would be
Purdue,
Arizona, and UConn. And I think you can book that.
Houston, Arizona, UConn, Purdue is plus, but that's not going to happen. Okay, take out Houston. So Arizona, UConn, and Purdue is plus 4. That's interesting.
Okay, UConn, Purdue, Arizona.
Plus 448, yeah.
Jake might
Why don't you
make
tweet that one out?
High unit play.
Tweet that one out. Yeah, follow our Twitter. If you don't, follow our X, Statletics_bets. We post out exactly like half and half winners and losers.
For a single unit play, actually, we're both positive right now.
Really?
So maybe we do know a little something. But if you really look at it,
we watch the games.
We do watch the games, but we're also idiots. So
yeah,
I think I might tweet that out, Will. I think that might be a single unit play for the people.
Now you got to do it. You say it on the pod, you got to do it. Can't go back on it now. That would be awesome.
It would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think you can go ahead, and I think the odds on that at plus 400 or whatever you said. Yeah,
448.
I feel like the odds should be better for that, or should be worse for that. So I'm taking them. I'm tweeting it out.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No. I know the show was a little bit all over the place, but looking forward for March. Looking forward to ending off the season on a high note. This is the best time of year, and it's the best time to enjoy some basketball. So,
yeah, we're gonna have a special guest next week. Tune in. Next week should be the biggest show of the year. Wrapping up conference week and really diving into the bracket. We'll have the bracket on Sunday, right? Do I have that right? I think so. Yeah. So, thanks for listening. Tune in next week.
Yeah.